I'm Chris Hansen, right now on Crime Watch Daily from here in New York. It's absolutely chilling.
Please send someone to my house.
A woman calls 911. She's just been drugged by her own sons, and they're about to blow up the house.
My children are trying to kill me.
Today, the two Southern boys who wanted to be the next Menendez brothers killing their affluent parents, but their plot was foiled, and the verdict is in. Then, millions watched the disturbing video on YouTube. A young girl held captive, chained to the floor of a bathroom. Was it a hoax, or could it be a missing teen whose disappearance is still a mystery?
I looked at it and I about fell over. I was sick to my stomach.
New leads, new hope. Jason Matera investigates the case of Kayla Berg.
You're fleeing right off the bat. You're running away now?
Right now.
Andrea Isom, sir, with Crime Watch Daily.
Jason Matera with Crime Watch Daily.
This
I'm Elizabeth. I'm here with Crime Watch.
I'm Michelle from Crime Watch Daily.
Anna Garcia from Crime Watch.
is Crime Watch Daily.
Stay off my property.
We'll find you again. We always do.
Welcome to Crime Watch Daily, everyone. I'm Chris Hansen. We start today with the mysterious disappearance of a high school gymnast, one that will be filled with lies, accusations, and a bizarre viral video. Jason Matera is in Wisconsin now with the details.
Chris, it's hard to imagine the pain of not knowing where your child is, but without a doubt, you can multiply that pain by 1,000 in the case of Kayla Berg.
Wait. Why are you fleeing already?
Why is this man running from our cameras?
Is your past coming back to haunt you?
And
hi, Walter. I met the most wonderful girl.
what does this haunting viral video have to do with the mother's biggest fear?
I looked at it and I about fell over. I was sick to my stomach.
A sudden disappearance, a dogged investigation, and a frantic search for an answer to the question, what happened to Kayla Berg?
Told her I loved her and she said, love you bunches too, Mom. I'll talk to you in a little while. I'll see you later. And that's the last time I ever heard her voice.
She was just 2 weeks away from her 16th birthday, a milestone Anago, Wisconsin teen Kayla Berg would never celebrate.
What are some of your favorite memories of Kayla?
Plenty. Just, her beautiful smiling face, the goofiness, running around, and just memories that will never be washed away.
But before there were only memories in her place, Kayla Berg was the always on-the-go kind of girl that even her mom had trouble pinning down.
Of course, she always wanted to be with her friends. Friends.
But there was one friend in particular Hope says she did not approve of. Kayla's 19-year-old boyfriend, Miguel Marrero. He was 4 years older than Kayla, still very much a minor.
Miguel's house, it was kind of a party spot for these kids from Anago. Were going there on a regular basis, every weekend at least, and had a lot of young girls and young people at the house.
And Hope says she didn't want her daughter to be one of them, so she took drastic action, moving Kayla about as far south from Anago, Wisconsin as they could get, to the state of Texas. Unfortunately, circumstances back home wouldn't let them go so easily.
We had ended up coming back up here. Her dad was not doing well. I felt the need that she needed to be, by her dad in case something did happen.
A decision she now says haunts her. It was August 11th. Kayla and Hope had only been back for a little over a week when Kayla told her mom she was going out.
Any red flags?
No, none whatsoever.
Then, at some point, Kayla made contact with the 24-year-old named Kevin Kilcheski.
Kevin Kilcheski was a friend of Kayla's older brother.
Would Kevin Kilcheski also hang out with Kayla?
They would all kind of hang out together.
In fact, rumor was 24-year-old Kevin hung out with a lot of teens around town.
Everything we had heard, he was kind of on a level, mentally maybe closer to these 15, 16-year-olds, 17-year-olds that he was hanging around with. I think a lot of the younger kids were taking advantage of him. He could get the marijuana, and he was given the rides, and it sounded like that was happening on a regular basis.
It's what Kevin later says happened that night with Kayla. She called him for a ride, and he offered to throw in a little extra as a welcome home gift.
So Kevin picks up Kayla, they smoke some weed?
Right.
And then what happens?
She wants to go see her friend Miguel in Wausau, and Kevin said he agreed to take her to Wausau.
But first, Kayla asked to make a quick stop to see a friend at McDonald's.
They saw Kevin with Kayla at the McDonald's. He was waiting for her in the car, but they were together. And that's the last person besides Kevin that we know has seen Kayla. Kevin says he drove her over to Wausau, about 40 minutes away, and dropped her off at Miguel's house.
The next day, Kayla was gone, but it wasn't until nearly a full week later before anyone realized it.
We had a lot of different stories on when somebody did really see her last. Kayla did spend a lot of time with her friends too, and would go between houses and may not come home for a couple days. Initially we're going, oh no, she's just floating between friends.
Sadly, that would become wishful thinking. Already a week behind when Kayla is reported missing, police start retracing her last known steps, and the trail leads them to the last place she was supposed to be, with Miguel.
What do you think Miguel's motivation would be if he was involved in Kayla's disappearance?
You know, there was a lot of rumors going around. She was pregnant. You know, was that an answer?
Police bring Miguel in for questioning, but he tells them he hasn't seen Kayla, that she never came over that night, and he never admits to even having had a sexual relationship with her.
Did you search Miguel's house? Did you search his car?
Had gone through the house and looked through the house many times. We had also searched his vehicle that he had and had been using, and nothing turned up on the search.
Not long after that, Miguel lawyered up. But then, he wasn't the only one police wanted to talk to. If Miguel was telling the truth, that made Kevin Kilcheski the last known person to see Kayla alive. His story being that he dropped her off at Miguel's house.
And he just drove off.
And he drove off.
The problem with that story? The address he gave police wasn't even where Miguel had been staying.
When he got dropped off at the house, it was condemned. There was issues with water coming to the house, and they were told they couldn't be in the house until they had some processes fixed.
Isn't it suspicious then that Kayla would ask to be dropped off at this home that appears to be uninhabitable?
Right. Yeah, and that's very suspicious, and her friends have told us after that she was aware that he wasn't at that house.
But Kevin insists that's where he dropped her off, and there was no evidence to say otherwise. However, that didn't mean he was home free.
Kevin's eventually arrested for what?
Reckless endangerment, and that was for his activity of taking a 15-year-old girl, smoking marijuana with her, and leaving her at a house that he wasn't sure she got to.
And what happened with the case?
It was dismissed in court. They felt that there was not enough evidence. We didn't have a victim at that point because we don't have Kayla. We don't know where she's at.
A question hundreds of tips and multiple searches over several years have yet to answer.
And I just want to know what happened to her, and I want her home. It's the only thing I want. I don't want anything else.
But then, just when it seemed like attention in Kayla's case might be waning...
Hi, Walter.
Coming up.
If Kevin wasn't involved, if Miguel wasn't involved...
You know, then you look at a stranger of opportunity got to Kayla.
She kept on looking at me and kept on giving me that look. You know the look.
A possible new lead brings new scrutiny to the case. And...
You're fleeing right off the bat. What? Guilty people do that.
Kayla Berg was only 15 years old when she vanished, and after years of searching for answers, investigators would get a new lead from, of all places, YouTube. Our Jason Matera is back with more.
Chris, could a viral video help solve the missing persons case of Kayla Berg? It's a question that police would need an answer to after a disturbing video surfaced online. It's been 7 years since Wisconsin 15-year-old Kayla Berg went missing after supposedly being dropped off at her boyfriend's house. 7 years without answers.
Kayla's dad eventually passed away. Did he ever talk to you prior to his death about Kayla and what went down?
He was pretty ill in the hospital. Everybody had left the room and gave him and I some alone time. All he did is, please find our little girl because I'm not gonna know. And I swore to him on his deathbed that I would do that. And I would make sure that we could get the answers. And it's unfortunate that he had to pass away without any closure whatsoever.
But police say it hasn't been for a lack of trying.
The FBI, they've been cooperative. Our Division of Criminal Investigation, our state agency, they've been involved. We've done extensive searches with cadaver dogs. We get a tip. We've probably done 12 different searches in different areas.
Police have also questioned both the boyfriend with whom Kayla was supposed to be dropped off and the person who gave her that final ride. And while cops say neither man has been officially ruled out, the case remains unsolved.
So if Kevin wasn't involved, if Miguel wasn't involved, what could have happened?
You know, then you look at a stranger of opportunity got to Kayla and was able to take her from when she got dropped off.
In some ways, it was the most disturbing scenario, a completely random act. Then, just this year, a possible lead that made everyone think that's exactly what happened.
Hi, Walter. I was at the mall today, and guess what happened? I met the most wonderful girl.
This video, posted to YouTube just 2 months after Kayla's disappearance, but not seen until years later, showed what appeared to be a crazed man discussing his new girlfriend.
Because she kept on looking at me and kept on giving me that look. You know the look.
And then, the moment that made everyone really sit up and take notice.
We got kind of tired of the mall, and I brought her back to my place. And I know she hates cameras, Walter, but I'm gonna show you her anyways. You ready?
The video cuts to black shortly after revealing a terrified young girl chained to the bathroom floor. A girl many people, including Kayla Berg's own mother, thought looked eerily familiar.
I looked at it and I about fell over. I was sick to my stomach. I watched it. I would stop it. I would pause it. I would break it down. And man, it sure did look like her. It looked like her face. It looked like her frame. The voice sounded like hers.
You thought this was your daughter?
I sincerely, honestly thought that was my daughter in that video.
And police weren't taking any chances.
Every tip we take seriously. And it was kind of a creepy video anyways, but then when you have the mom saying that it's, you know, that definitely could be my daughter. You know, we did whatever we could at that point to try to locate that video and who made that video.
And then, after an exhaustive search, a break.
Well, I found out the video wasn't had anything tied into the disappearance of Kayla. They weren't aware of the disappearance of Kayla.
It was all just a tragic coincidence.
We had made contact with the producer and the 2 actors in the video. Both of them agreed that it was completely voluntary what they were doing, and we're just trying to produce these scare videos that they put out.
They didn't even know about Kayla. Hardly anybody knew about Kayla.
And if there's any good to come from the video, it's that it brought new exposure to Kayla's case.
The video emerging, it actually raised the level of attention back to Kayla's case.
Yes.
What do you hope comes of that?
We know there's somebody knows something, and we want somebody that knows something to come forward.
In the meantime, investigators are back to square one, with no new leads or suspects.
Miguel says that he didn't see Kayla that evening.
Right. He was at his other house and said he never saw.
How would you classify Kevin today? Is he your chief suspect in Kayla's disappearance?
He's always still going to be a suspect until we know different, I think, mainly because of his actions and being the last one that we know of that saw Kayla. We're kind of looking at some other areas because I think we've exhausted as much as we can with Kevin at this point.
And Kayla's mom says there's something else that makes both men highly suspicious in her eyes.
They had refused a lie detector, and That's kind of where we sit with him.
Kevin refused to take a polygraph that was administered by law enforcement.
Correct, yes. We wanted to schedule for him to do a lie detector with the FBI. So we had all that scheduled. Well, then there was an excuse. Oh, well, he took a Vicodin or he took a Xanax, so he couldn't do the test. Finally, he's not gonna come in and do it, and we can't really make him.
Kevin did apparently have a test done later by a private firm and passed. But Hope says she's still dubious.
You know, what questions were asked. Anybody can pass if you word it the way you want it to be worded. Why didn't you take the lie detector right away and be done with it?
Wisconsin state law prohibits Chief Rowler from confirming or denying Hope's claim, but we wanted to help her get the answer she needed one way or another.
If we get the chance to talk to Kevin and Miguel, what questions do you want us to ask them?
What honestly happened? Just tell me the truth, good or bad. What did you do? What happened to her? Where is she?
And with that, we went searching. We weren't able to make contact with Miguel, who, to this day, has never been charged with anything in connection to Kayla's disappearance. But we found Kevin outside his place of work.
Jason McNair, Crime Watch. Wait. Why are you fleeing already? We want to see if you can give us any information about Kayla. I mean, you're fleeing right off the bat. What, is your past coming back to haunt you? Is that why you're fleeing?
I was barely able to ask one question before Kevin ducked inside, though he has publicly denied having anything to do with Kayla's disappearance.
I hate to even ask this. Do you think Kayla's even alive?
You know, after this much time, it's hard to say. I mean, you hope for that, but when you see so many of them out there with the bad stuff that's happening, that's what hits us hard.
Today, Kayla Berg would be 23 and might look something like this composite, a glimpse of what might have been. For now, the only thing Hope has left.
And right now, it's just, I try to keep her in the media and try to get her story told. Somebody knows something. Please, for the love of God, if you know something, just tell law enforcement, FBI, any agency. Just help me get my daughter back and help me find her and get some answers. And if Kayla, you still happen to see this somewhere, oh God, I love you and I just want you home.
The FBI has offered a $20,000 reward for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of anyone responsible for Kayla's disappearance. If you know anything, you're asked to call 715-627-6411. Still to come.
Please send someone to not house my children. They're trying to kill me.
What would make two boys drug their own parents with Xanax and attempt to blow them up? Surprising developments from the trial of Cameron and Christopher Ervin. Next. Now to an update on a story we've followed very closely here at Crime Watch Daily. We all know the story of Lyle and Eric Menendez, convicted of killing their parents in Beverly Hills. Well, it was in the upscale neighborhood of Snellville, Georgia, that another set of brothers were arrested, accused of trying to kill their mother and father. Reed Grinsell has the new details from the courtroom.
It's a major break in one of the most shocking cases we've ever covered.
First of all, I'd like to apologize. I'm extremely regretful.
That was 19-year-old Cameron Irvin standing alongside his 23-year-old brother Christopher just days ago to express remorse for drugging, beating, stabbing, and trying to blow up their own mom and dad.
And he said, I just tried to kill my parents. Who does that?
Now,
these decisions are never easy for the court.
A verdict has finally been reached, and the full story can be told.
I'm sorry.
It was the horrific real-life drama that began with this chilling call to 911.
Please send someone to not house my children. They're trying to kill me.
That's a terrified Yvonne Irvin saying what she fears may be her final words.
They've attacked me and my husband. They drugged us with Xanax. They've attacked us and they're trying to kill us.
Christopher, 22 at the time, and Cameron, 17, first tried to incapacitate their parents by drugging their food. Then, in a made-for-TV murder plot, they lit candles around the house, turned on the gas, and left their parents for dead. Cops say the boys then waited out front for the house to explode. When it didn't, they rushed inside and went on the attack.
I don't know why they've done this. I really don't. I guess they assume they want the insurance money. I'm not sure.
Yvonne managed to escape the brutal assault, running upstairs to the safety of her bedroom, where she called police.
I just heard them say, "Where did Mom go?" They headed upstairs now.
You can hear Yvonne screaming in fear for her life, while downstairs, the boy's father, Zachary, had just barely managed to fight off his sons after they stabbed him. These graphic crime scene photos shown recently in court reveal where a bloodied Zachary then ran into the garage and began honking his horn with the hopes neighbors would hear.
We didn't hear any of that. We just felt that, maybe we could have done something to help.
Cops arrived soon after, stopping the boys before they could finish their deadly plan.
I've seen cases where children plot or try to kill their parents. I've seen cases where children try and burn down the house that their parents live in. But I've never seen sort of the combination of events that we have here.
After the arrest, the youngest brother made this stunning confession to police.
Cameron said that he had been planning this since he was 11. He said, "Just kill me now." And then the officer asked, "Why would I do that?" And he said, "I just tried to kill my parents. Who does that?"
Christopher and Cameron were both charged with aggravated assault and arson as opposed to attempted murder because, unbelievably, in the state of Georgia, aggravated assault, defined as assault with the intent to murder, carries a higher maximum sentence. Though the DA had originally theorized the motive could have been anything from a strict upbringing to life insurance, as Yvonne had speculated on that 911 call. At trial, prosecutors had trouble pinning down an exact reason for the crime, but then they didn't have to. In a surprise to many, both Cameron and Christopher pled guilty to all charges. The state asked for a stiff sentence of 50 years behind bars, but then a surprise plea for leniency from the very people the boys tried to kill.
And I don't see myself as a victim. I'm a father first.
Both Yvonne and Zachary take the stand to say they forgive their boys and to ask for a reduced sentence of 10 years plus probation.
I had no other choice but to forgive them.
Ultimately, the court decided to meet somewhere in the middle, sentencing both boys to 20 years of confinement with an additional 30 years of probation.
This is a difficult situation all the way around.
For the perpetrators, for the victims, it is the emotional last chapter to a story that could have had a much more tragic ending.
Coming up, a young mother kisses her 3 little girls goodbye and is never seen again.
I just want you to come home. Your girls need you.
What happened to Heather McDonald? As Crime Watch Daily investigates, a bizarre story begins to unravel.
A patrol officer had found her Jeep at a hotel.
That's next. Now let's head to Georgia, where there's been a big development in a case of a missing mother of 3. Michelle Sagona is north of Atlanta with the all-new details.
Chris, Heather McDonald's husband tells me the last time he saw his wife was Saturday, September 18th. She was at home, she was with her children, she was in good spirits. And when she left that day, she was never seen by him again.
Olivia, Molly, and little Nova miss their mommy very much.
And I just want you to come home. Your girls need you. Olivia misses you.
Heather McDonald kissed her husband and 3 young daughters goodbye and headed out to visit a girlfriend. The 27-year-old mother never returns home, and during our interview, emotions spill over. There is not a soul in the small, tight-knit town of Cartersville, Georgia, that believes Heather McDonald would simply walk away from her 3 young daughters and adoring husband, Stephan.
Where did you and Heather meet?
We were neighbors. She was the girl next door.
After years of innocent flirting with the cute, petite brunette across the street, Stefan says the two began dating, and before long, they were happily married with 3 adorable girls.
Tell me about Heather. She's fun-loving, funny. She's a great mom.
As far as your marriage, it was solid.
We have good days, we have great days, we have bad days. But it was a marriage.
Stefan admits in the weeks leading up to Heather's mysterious disappearance, he couldn't help but notice a dark cloud brewing over his normally cheery wife.
She was behaving a little unusual, and she said, well, I'm just stressed out, and life is hard with 3 kids.
Heather worked part-time at a Quick Trip convenience store, but was mostly a full-time mom to her girls. So at first, Stefan says he thought maybe she was just exhausted. That was until something far more troubling transpired.
So about a month prior, something happened.
Yes. She had gotten in some trouble with the law where she had some pain medicine that weren't prescribed to her.
During a routine traffic stop, Heather is arrested for possession of prescription drugs that were not prescribed to her. Stefan could not confirm who she got them from.
Were there friends that she had that maybe you didn't know about?
There's almost certainly friends that I didn't know about.
Stefan says he was now becoming increasingly worried Heather was crumbling under the overwhelming demands of motherhood. So when she told him she needed a little break, he said he encouraged it.
She said she was going to go spend a few days with her friend.
So on Saturday afternoon, Stefan says Heather loaded up a red Jeep Wrangler he'd rented for her and headed to a girlfriend's house in the town of Ackworth.
Did she make it to the friend's house?
I was under the impression that she was at this friend's house.
The next morning, Stefan says he and Heather exchanged several text messages. Heather wanted to know what her girls were up to.
I told her that we were going to clean house for a little bit and then go over to my friend's house to watch the Falcons game. Okay. At 11:58, I asked her what she was going to do, and there was...
She doesn't get back to you.
No reply.
By Sunday evening, Stefan says he's actually angry with Heather for not returning any of his messages.
I was a little heated because, I've got all 3 girls and it's stressful, and so I vented a little bit in frustration via text, but still nothing was coming back to me.
But by Monday, that anger is now grave concern. So Stefan tracks down the number of Heather's girlfriend. It's a call that still sends chills down his spine.
She said that she wasn't there. She had not been spending time with her.
So you think that she may have lied to you?
She was definitely not where she told me she was going to be.
Stefan discovers Heather is in the town of Ackworth, but she's staying at a different friend's house, a friend that raises some eyebrows.
Was it another girlfriend?
It was a guy friend.
It was a guy friend.
Nobody that she's had any kind of intimacy with or anything like that, just a friend.
I have to ask this because people are going to say, well, why would she leave her 3 kids and her husband to go spend time at a regular friend's house? Do you have any explanation for that?
Well, she was stressed out and she wanted to go kind of decompress. Exactly.
Was Heather living a secret life behind her husband's back? Was she a young mom in crisis who willingly walked away from these little angels? Or was there something far more dangerous going on? The answer was about to be delivered right to Stefan's front door.
I hear a knock at the door, and it's the stern, it's the police knock. And I answer the door, and a patrol officer had found her Jeep at a hotel.
A hotel that had a reputation as a no-tell motel. So was Heather there with another man?
I asked him if he had found my wife as well, and he said no.
Lieutenant Mike Beckenkoffer says Cartersville police did find Heather's rented Jeep Wrangler in the parking lot. Her bags are inside, the door's wide open, and her keys are on the ground.
You don't believe Heather left on her own accord?
It's a suspicious situation.
What was missing from the vehicle?
To my knowledge, nothing.
The only things missing are Heather and, according to Stefan, her phone.
And all of her things are inside of it?
Yes.
And so there's just a lot of things not adding up.
Cops look at every possible lead and person. They question Stephen and that mysterious man he says Heather was staying with in Ackworth. They both cooperate with police, but there is one thing they can't answer. Where's Heather?
She was nowhere to be found.
Then, a possible break.
She said that people followed her.
Heather's young sister Madison remembers a chilling conversation she had with Heather just weeks before she went missing.
Did she give you any other information about those people?
She would just point out different cars, and she would just say she kept seeing them.
Like multiple cars?
Yeah, different ones. Everywhere she went, she said she would see them. Every time she would leave the house or something to go somewhere, she always would see them.
Up next, who's been following Heather?
We had one gentleman tell us that he remembers seeing her out by the Jeep arguing with a couple guys, saying that she wanted to leave, but they didn't want her to leave.
Was this guy one of them? And does he hold the key to finding Heather?
Heather's 3 little girls need her. She's not a commodity. She's a mother.
There's no way missing mother of 3 Heather McDonald would leave her family on her own. And as weeks passed by, Heather's family started to pick apart everything and every person in their lives, trying to find answers. Michelle Sagona is back in Georgia with more.
Chris, the entire town of Cartersville, Georgia is covered with flyers. There are pictures of Heather McDonald's face everywhere, and all of it is thanks to her family, her friends, and complete strangers.
What do you want people out there who watch this and a national audience to know about Heather?
She loves her children. She loves this family more than anything. She would never leave.
Stephen McDonald just wants his wife Heather, the mother of their 3 little girls, home safe.
Somebody, somewhere, knows what happened. Or where Heather is. We just want Heather back.
The 27-year-old mother's mysterious disappearance has rocked the tiny town of Cartersville, Georgia.
We wake up on and off all night long, just thinking, like, where could she be?
It's a nightmare.
At first, Stephen says Cartersville police questioned him, wondering if the young mom of 3 willingly took off on her own.
Do you believe Heather would leave you and those girls behind?
No chance.
But as the bizarre circumstances surrounding her disappearance begin to emerge, police now believe, without a doubt, something bad has happened to Heather.
We're working around the clock to try to locate her.
In the weeks leading up to Heather's disappearance, Stephen admits the normally happy-go-lucky mom was acting strange. She was arrested for having prescription drugs that didn't belong to her, and she confided in her family she was worried someone was watching her. Heather even told her sister she thought somebody could be following her.
Did she ever say that she saw them at work before, or that she's seen these cars or these people anywhere else?
Everywhere she went, she said she would see them.
She thought that she had seen a couple different cars in a couple different places, the same car.
That they were watching her?
That's kind of what she thought.
And any indication as to why?
No.
The only clue police have to go by, the rented red Jeep Wrangler, like this one, she was driving when she left home.
Her rented Jeep was found the next day, and it was open with the keys in it and her belongings, and she was nowhere to be found.
The abandoned Jeep was suspicious enough, but it's where cops find that Jeep that has them baffled. It was in the parking lot of a cheap motel in a not-so-nice part of town.
Describe to me this motel.
It's a hotel or a motel on the edge of town.
Would you say that it has a high turnover rate?
Yeah, there are a large number of people that check in and check out of that hotel.
After weeks of investigating, police still can't determine if Heather was even there.
It's really the kind of place where if you're not involved, you don't get involved.
Domestic sex trafficking in this country is alive, and this is one theory you believe. Is that correct?
It is. Atlanta is a very large market for that sort of thing. I think that she was either in the wrong place at the wrong time or got mixed up with some not good people. and got put into a situation that she could not get herself out of.
The investigation all leads back to that rented red Jeep found here in this parking lot, a place the FBI, the GBI, and Cartersville Police Department have all scoured for clues.
In most of the other places, the people will come out, they'll talk to you. Here, they'll barely crack the door.
Stephen, Heather's cousin Josh Proctor, and a team of devoted volunteers search the motel's parking lot almost every night looking for any sign of Heather and answers. On this night, they invited our Crime Watch cameras to come along.
So right here is where the Jeep was found. It was actually backed in.
Let's say Heather did come here willingly. Why would she come to a place like this?
We've been told that Heather's been trafficked. We came across another person who told me that Heather had been seen here arguing with two men and that the entire hotel knew about it and had been discussing it.
There are at least 3 security cameras aimed on the parking spot where Heather's Jeep was found.
You see a camera right, see there in the corner?
But the motel's manager confirms none of them work.
I said those cameras working would be a lot of help to us. And he looked at me and he said, "There's no law that says my cameras have to work."
We asked the motel's owner if we could take our cameras inside to look for guests who may remember seeing Heather, and he gives us the go-ahead.
Come this way.
My first impressions inside the halls of the motel.
Why would she be here?
There's an eerie isolation, and the halls are a maze. It's understandable how Heather could have been here, and other guests never saw her.
Those cameras, they don't work. If those cameras would have been working, could have told investigators so much as to what happened that night.
There are multiple exits leading out to the parking lot where Heather's Jeep was found.
This is the back of the motel. It's not a place you want to be by yourself.
We searched, but could not find a soul inside the motel willing to talk.
It's hard to believe that Heather would come here alone and leave her kids behind.
It's another night that Stephen goes home to his 3 little girls with no answers.
Thank you guys for your good work. I'm going to pray us out of here, if that's okay. I ask you tonight, as the sun sets, that Heather's heart has not set.
Sadly, those prayers will go unanswered. Just days after we left that motel in Cartersville, Georgia, Stephen gets the heartbreaking news that will forever change his life and the lives of those 3 little girls, Olivia, Molly, and Nova. Heather's body has been found. Cartersville police have yet to confirm how Heather died, saying only that she was found by hunters in a wooded area about 40 miles from home. But now, another shocking development. U.S. Marshals confirmed this man, Richard Dale Hardin, a convicted child sex offender who spent 2 decades behind bars for enticing a minor, has been named an official person of interest in Heather's disappearance. So what's the connection? It's being reported that Hardin befriended Heather's parents at a church and even did some handiwork for Heather and Stephen around their house. The Cartersville Police Department, which is leading the investigation into Heather's disappearance, will not confirm or deny Hardin is being held in connection with the case. Heather's autopsy results are due back in a few weeks, hopefully answering the question, why would someone kill Heather McDonald and leave these 3 little girls
like Daddy
without a mommy?
Everyone on Daddy.
Right now, Hardin is being held on violation of the sex offender registry on no bond. Reports are police are waiting until a final cause of death is determined before moving forward with any additional charges.